Roger Stone, a former longtime confidant of President Donald Trump, was arrested in Florida on Friday morning following a federal indictment resulting from special counsel Robert Mueller's sprawling probe into Russian election meddling. FBI agents armed with rifles took the self-described political dirty trickster into custody in a dramatic pre-dawn raid with their weapons drawn and a lead agent shouting "FBI! Open the door! We have a warrant!" With tactical flashlights shining in his face, Stone confirmed his identity to the agents and was led away. Stone is charged with 7 federal counts including 5 of making false statements, 1 of witness tampering and 1 of obstruction of official proceedings. He is due to appear at the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale on Friday morning, according to Mueller's office. New York Magazine reported that the FBI also raided Stone's Manhattan apartment. The indictment does not charge him with crimes directly related to Russia or with conspiracy to skew the 2016 election, but with what legal experts call process crimes, lying to investigators and trying to tamper with their work. Grant Smith, an attorney for Stone, said in a statement that the indictment is a clear attempt at silencing Roger. This was an investigation they started as about Russian collusion, and now they're charging Roger Stone with lying to Congress about something he honestly forgot about, and as Roger has stated publicly before, he will fight the charges. He said separately that prosecutors found no Russian collusion, or they would have charged him with it. Roger Stone is vindicated by the fact that there was no Russian collusion. Roger Stone received no materials from WikiLeaks ahead of the public release. Smith added that Stone's misstatements were due to forgetfulness and were immaterial. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders insisted Friday morning in a CNN interview that the Stone indictment has nothing to do with the president and certainly nothing to do with the White House. Sanders suggested that prominent Democrats and Obama administration officials have been guilty of the crimes for which Stone was charged. I think the bigger question is if this is a standard, will the same standard apply to people like Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Clapper? Will we see the same people we know have also made false statements? Will that same standard apply? She asked. President Trump tweeted an encouraging message to Stone in December as news spread that Mueller's team was putting pressure on him. "I will never testify against Trump." This statement was recently made by Roger Stone, essentially stating that he will not be forced by a rogue and out-of-control prosecutor to make up lies and stories about President Trump. "Nice to know that some people still have guts," he wrote. Trump tweeted in May 2017, 4 months after taking office, that CNN was mistaken in reporting that he still had a close relationship with Stone. "Fake news. Have not spoken to Roger in a long time," he said then. As Stone makes his court appearance, another Trump ally, former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, will also be appearing in a Virginia courtroom. Manafort, who has already been jailed for conspiracy, is facing new allegations that he lied to members of Mueller's team while cooperating as part of his plea deal. Stone, a former Richard Nixon advisor who has the disgraced former president's face permanently tattooed on his back, has long been portrayed as a central figure in the election interference scandal, but as recently as January 4 told DailyMail.com that he doesn't expect to be indicted. "They got nothing," he said of the special counsel's investigation. "They've tried hard, but I didn't do anything illegal. That's why I'm not worried and I'll do a public appearance like tonight's without a problem." Mueller's federal grand jury met on Thursday, a Justice Department source told DailyMail.com. "That's unusual, given the typical schedule of such grand juries." The Justice Department source said the grand jury also met on a Thursday last July, the day before Mueller unsealed an indictment against a dozen Russian agents. The grand jury had been hearing for months from witnesses linked with Stone. And the House Intelligence Committee, then run by Republicans, voted last year to release a transcript of Stone's testimony to Mueller. The indictment says that during the summer of 2016 Stone spoke to senior Trump campaign officials about information held by WikiLeaks that might be damaging to Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. That came as the Trump campaign shifted gears from a bruising primary season to months of general election fights against the campaign. Official replied to Stone asking him to inquire about potential future release by WikiLeaks, the indictment alleges. Thousands of emails had been stolen from a Gmail account belonging to Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. Other records had been stolen from the Democratic National Committee's computer servers. The indictment directly quotes a Stone email to Breitbart News Washington editor Matthew Boyle on October 3, 2016, in which he complains that he would tell the high-ranking Trump campaign official about his contacts with WikiLeaks, but he doesn't call me back. That matches, word for word, a Stone email cited by the New York Times in November 2018, which cites former Trump campaign CEO Steve Bannon by name instead of the high-ranking Trump campaign official. Messages sent Friday morning to Bannon, then a future White House senior advisor Steve Bannon, and his public relations advisor Alexandra Preet, who worked alongside him in the White House, went unanswered. Manafort, now languishing in jail and facing a lengthy prison term for tax and bank fraud, may play a role in the Stone indictment. It describes the aftermath of the July 22, 2016 release of stolen DNC emails by WikiLeaks, and recounts how a senior Trump campaign official was directed to contact Stone to see if more releases were coming. Bannon is widely understood to be that official. As the campaign's CEO, he reported directly to Manafort. Only Manafort and Donald Trump himself likely had the authority to directed his actions. The question of who gave that order will set off a new round of speculation about whether the president himself could be a Mueller target. CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin speculated Friday morning that it could be Donald Trump himself. On MSNBC's Morning Joe program, former CIA Director John Brennan said the indictment shows an extensive effort to influence the election that may have gone to the very top of the Trump campaign. The question now, Brennan said, is whether that crossed the threshold from collusion to criminal conspiracy. On CNN, Sanders stopped short of denying Trump was involved. "I'm not going to be able to provide you some type of insight or legal analysis," she said. "What I can tell you is that these specific charges that have been brought against Mr. Stone don't have anything to do with the president." The indictment also indicates that Stone tasked another person, referred to as Person 1, with contacting WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange for him. Breitbart News Washington political editor Matthew Boyle did not respond to emails on Friday morning. Friday's indictment quotes an email exchange between Stone and Boyle, referred to only as a reporter. Boyle was granted an Oval Office interview with President Trump during the first weeks of his administration. Another Stone associate with a cameo in the indictment is New York radio host Randy Credico, who Stone has claimed told him that WikiLeaks had obtained a collection of Podesta's emails and planned to release them. In email from April 2018, cited in the indictment, Stone appeared incensed that Credico had spoken to investigators. "You are a rat. A stoolie. You backstab your friends, run your mouth, my lawyers are dying to rip you to shreds," Stone wrote. "I am so ready. Let's get it on. Prepare to die, expletive. You should have just been honest with the House Intel Committee. You've opened yourself up to perjury charges like an idiot," Credico wrote a month later. Stone responded, "You are so full of expletive. You got nothing." Credico's attorney confirmed Friday to CNN that his client is Person 2 single quote in the indictment. Stone is accused of making multiple false statements about his contacts with WikiLeaks, and wrongly denying having records of those conversations. He is also accused of trying to persuade a witness to provide false testimony to and withhold pertinent information from the investigations. The indictment accuses Stone of lying to a congressional panel in September 2017, telling House Intelligence Committee members that he had never asked an intermediary to contact Assange on his behalf. "I did not," he replied. According to the indictment, he had by then asked two people to get to Assange, forwarding a request for documents that could damage the Hillary Clinton campaign. News reports have established that Stone sent similar emails to Jerome Corsi, a well-known conspiracy theorist whose relationship with Stone goes back decades. Corsi said in November that he had declined a plea agreement from Mueller that would involve a guilty plea to lying about his discussions with Stone. Stone has accused Mueller of harassment after the counsel's sleuths tracked down and interviewed 19 of his friends and business associates. "My cleaning lady had to go back to Cuba for a while, so I hired a temp," Stone said. The temp spoke only Spanish. "I never knew her name or anything. Yet, government agents found her in Miami. They asked her if I was meeting with Russians at home. No, how they found her when I didn't even know her name, I can only guess. I know she had nothing to say to them." He claims agents showed some of Stone's friends a photo of the 2-year-old boy born to Kristen Davis, the infamous Manhattan madam whose prostitution service was used by disgraced former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer and, allegedly, the likes of retired baseball slugger Alex Rodriguez. "They kept asking if the baby was mine," the married Stone said. "What does that have to do with Russian collusion? The baby is not mine, I'm the godfather. But that's an invasion of privacy if I've ever seen one." Being at the forefront of this political scandal has been financially debilitating, to say the least, he says. He's been involved in a half-dozen lawsuits that have resulted in up to $200,000 each in legal bills. Preparing for his 2017 House testimony, when he was interviewed by the Intelligence Committee for 4.5 hours, also cost him $400,000.